All right, let's talk about Uranus. Yeah, oh no, not that one. I'm talking about the planet. Oh right, I'll call it Uranus. Now I talked about it in my last video. I'm going to go further into this. Now the interesting part about Uranus is that it wasn't that long ago when nobody knew it existed. Now all of a sudden it has this great meaning. Well, we're going to talk about this. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about it, how it's affecting us, and what happens on these cycles that seem to control the patterns on our planet. I want to go more into depth about that because I think this is really important for those of you who think that we have no control over this, and that couldn't be further from the truth. However, everything does work together, so let's talk about that. Let's go. Grab your coffee. Let the dog out. Come sit with me for a while. I'm Landria and welcome to Breakthrough Fear. Landria on YouTube. Yeah, I have been here quite a while now, and I keep thinking, when do you just quit? And I thought, well, we have to do our best. We're here for purpose, right? And we have to break through fear to achieve a lot of things. And I realized after I started my channel that the best thing I could do for other people is to show them that we can live in, let's just say, some uncomfortable circumstances and actually be comfortable with it. Because when you break through fear, all of a sudden, everything has purpose, yes, even the challenges. So you start to look at the world different. You break through the fear and you know it's there. It's part of our program. Now, I hope that you will subscribe. It keeps me going, and it allows you to stay on top of this very positive, important information that I will continue to share. Now, my channel's changing a lot because we are now going into an era. I call it the golden era. We actually are in it, right? It doesn't seem like it, but it takes a while. You got to learn to walk, and then ride the tricycle, and then eventually you're on the unicycle. Now, I never got on I'm not that coordinated. You know what I mean. The point is that we have to start the momentum here to get into the golden era where so many of these things that I know you may be fearful about just don't even exist anymore. It's not even a consideration. And that is happening. So what I'm going to do with my channel now, moving forward, and you probably have noticed this, we're going to go into learning how to use that power more and more. Now, we often feel like we don't have control. I did channel a book. No, I don't go into some weird trance. However, if you really want to understand how things work, I got information. I'm clairaudient. I received information on what to write to tell you just how powerful you are. And that book is here. Those of you who have read it said that it's mind-blowing. I feel like it was a much higher voice, not a separate voice, but the more pure, knowledgeable, we call it the higher self. What is that? Your higher self isn't a different person to you. It's just you getting out of the way of these fears and these limiting beliefs and actually tapping into that knowledge that you hold right now. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is using that knowledge. So you're going to see more and more videos. Let's talk about the 84-year cycle. I'm going to double check that, of Uranus. Why is that so important? Well, let me give you a little history right now. Okay, get ready for this. We are going through the Uranus transit. It happens every 84 years. All right, so we're looking at 2025 to about 2033. Now, people freak out about this because the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, the World War II, well, not in that order, of course, took place during these time periods. But I want to share something with you that's so important. This is actually the transits, especially for the United States. So we have 84 years, a 7-year period that goes through. Uranus was not discovered till 1781. Well, ironically, that is when the British surrendered. Now, here's the really cool part about this, because people freak out because they think we're going to go through another war. But what it represents is the unexpected, freedom, revolution changes, technology changes, advancement, personal freedom, spiritual advancement, and then racial issues being resolved. So in the Civil War, slavery was abolished, right? The Revolutionary War, we broke through and became free from the British. World War II, when the U.S. got involved, came out as a global superpower, all right? Now, here are some other interesting things. The leaders of these wars were all Aquarians. Yeah, so I looked it up, and our two candidates are Libra, which is Harris, and Trump, which is Gemini. Now, all Geminis, Geminis have been, there's only 3 presidents, Geminis: Kennedy, Bush, HW, and Trump. Only 3. Now, we know there was controversy with those 3. There's always controversy. But also King George III, who lost the Revolutionary War, was also Gemini. What does this mean? When we go through these periods, the U.S. has always been redefined. These are not negative things. So when we have these wars, what was the purpose of them? To break through of the confinements, the restrictions, the power that's over us. And so we've come through it being better, more freedom. And now we've gone through cycles again of great struggle and controversy, and we're ready to break through. So I want you to know that these are breakthrough points, the unexpected, freedom, revolutionary changes, technology, personal freedom, spiritual advancement. And so we want to remember that this is a close race for our elections here in the U.S., and anything can happen. Now, just because Trump is Gemini doesn't mean he's going to win, because things changed when Harris came in, who's a Libra. Now, some astrologists are predicting things because of the Gemini factor. But we know that we have the ability through revolutionary change to choose absolutely anything to define our future. Libra will come in to lead that way. It could go either way. So don't be afraid of what's happening. It actually represents an advancement especially for the U.S., because this is our chart. So buckle up, put on your seatbelts, but know that we're going to be going into advancement. And the thought of war is not a bad thing for us. We could have revolutionary changes without it. The further advanced we become, especially in spirituality, the less likely that is to be, because we are still 100% in charge of this. So what happens with astrologers, those who are not just tracking the movements of our celestial planets, stars, all that really beautiful stuff out there that we don't really completely understand, tracking it and noticing that there are patterns in that and what happens here. So people who don't even know about this are engaged in patterns that align with certain planets coming back around and events happening on our planet that are noticeable. We've had our illnesses, we've had wars, we've had all kinds of things kick in, and there is definitely a cycle. Now, if you've ever watched Greg Braden, I used to be a big fan of his. I stopped watching him because he got a little negative there for a while, and I shut it down. I shared this with you. You are absolutely participating in whatever you place your attention on. Wave and particle, right? We affect the material world through our attention. So that wave, a probability, turns into a particle when I look at it. Now, there will be different realities for different people, but whatever they put their attention on and what they believe about that actually creates that reality. So when things are aligned for us, depending on how advanced we are with our own frequency, we can either go into those cycles and self-destruct or change them and use the challenges to kick it up a notch. So, I use Pac-Man because it's so simple. The Pac-Man the little Edie guy doesn't stop coming out after you when you go up the higher program, right? When you accelerate and you want to get on the leaderboard, it doesn't stop coming out. It's a cycle. It's a program that keeps running. So what happens is, and this is where we are right now, is you get to that really advanced program. You've figured out what happens down here. You know this is going to come back out again, just like the planets come back around into these patterns. But this time, we say we're not going to get eaten up by little Pac-Man eater, all right? We wait, we time it perfectly, we go another route, and then we move past it. That's how it's working right now. We have an opportunity to move past the challenge, which breaks the cycles of everything, okay? That means that now we shift into a completely different reality, even though the opportunity has come around for us to either go back into density and fear or to break through it. It's creating an opportunity. It's a program to test us. It's all program. Otherwise, if everything was static, there would be no challenges, there would be no events, there would be anything, right? It would just be the same old, same old. Well, why would we bother coming here? So these programs that are running out there are presenting reoccurring opportunities. I say opportunities because we do not have to go into war. Now, I shared with you that I do believe some of that's going to happen. I do. Because, we all have free will. And some people are not going to, in their personal lifetime, pull out of density. And we can't judge it if we want to stay in high frequency, because that means you're telling somebody that they're wrong. Nobody's wrong. You cannot know what somebody's journey is. All right. So when you have a person that challenges you, and you're all right, it's like, no, snap out of it and deal with it. Yeah. It's a spiritual butt kick. Why? Because you hold the power, and you have to now, even in your little personal challenges, see it differently. Okay. I'll give you an example. I just recently had to make a decision to move, all right? I'm moving, and I realized this, instead of being, oh God, I'm moving again, I just moved here, a few years ago, realized, oh my gosh, this is the best possible thing that could happen to me. What I'm moving to is so much greater than even this, and this was pretty darn amazing. And everybody keeps saying, wow, you're upgrading. And I said, yeah, I really am. Now, it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to pack up and move. There's no part of that I'm going to enjoy. Well, some of it, getting more organized and actually giving more things away. It's realizing how many times can you haul this stuff around. But realizing that this is now a shift in my energy field. Now, I find it very ironic because it came up suddenly. I had no intention of moving till further down the road. Decided to do it now. And I realized something is happening and aligning for me to shift my energy. So when you move, when you change jobs, when you make a new decision to do something, if you make a higher decision, if you're upgrading, you have to look at the situation and say, sometimes it doesn't seem like it, right? Especially if you feel like it's out of your control. You're forced to change jobs. You're forced to move when you think you don't want to. Your relationship changes, and then you look back and say, oh my gosh, that divorce was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. That was the case for me. And I had a lovely husband, all right? Wonderful man. But, things happens, and we, wished each other well, walked away, and guess what? I wouldn't be sitting here with you if I'd have stayed in that relationship. I'm a very devoted person. So I would have never explored the things out there. I would have never gotten online. Guys know I've created online business. I teach other people how to do that. I would have never learned any of that. I would have stayed, in the private equity sector, going, okay, now what do I do, right? So I want you to understand these things that happen to you are going to push you just as Uranus comes around and presents opportunities for change. Now, in the past, it has been a negative because people made those decisions. Does this make sense? It's not that when Uranus comes around, negative things get presented. No, they never had to be negative. They were always just opportunities. It's the past density that chose the negativity. Okay? So we go, oh, wars happen every 84 years. We have this big cataclysmic thing that always happens. No, we had big shifts moving and looking at it and saying, wow, look what I'm going to. This is amazing. But saying, oh, I loved how it is now, but I don't want to. And we cling to mediocrity sometimes because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what that change holds for us. So we stay here because unless it's really bad, we don't want to leave. We're motivated by fear. That's why we break through it and we use it in a positive way. We're motivated by events that are uncomfortable. So those of you who, I've interviewed people and they're yes, and as soon as we get off the phone, somebody's talked to them or going, do I really want to learn something new and change the planet? I'll just stay here in my little job and, with the fam and the dog, and that's fine. But is that really how you want to live your life? So the cycle of Uranus says, you now have a chance to do something really bold. And it doesn't have to be war. So those who are in fear will go into that because the change is what they battle. They fear, don't you step on my turf. I want this. I want to control this. So when they come from the lower frequency decision making, they go into conflict because they live in separation and individuality. Now, somebody gave this really long comment. By the way, if it disappears, if you guys see a comment disappear, YouTube's very cognizant of what we're saying and also does not want to be the catalyst for negative conflict on the platform. So sometimes it will eliminate some comments that they feel is too controversial and negative. Now, somebody was talking about the differences between, the races and how, it's especially, being a white woman, sometimes people have this assumption of who and what we are because there is a pattern of maybe having certain people not treat you nice. So then as soon as you visually see another one of those let's just say facades, the white facade or whatever, that this too may be like that. This is when you have to use your discretion, your discernment, your positive compassion that this is a light being I'm looking at, not a specific culture or religion or anything else, and that I must go in and see that light in order to receive it back. This is going to test you because we're going into eras where we're going to go back into the pattern of they do this and they do this, and they vote this way, and that there should not be any sides of any kind to vote anybody in. There should be no sides. None. Well, I'm this party, so I must vote this way. And so we're still putting those people in a box and they're forced to, represent their party a certain way. We shouldn't have any of that. Nothing. It should be a person saying, here's what I'm going to do. Support me or not. Here's my ideas. And it may be a combination of these things, right? Yes, we do have independent parties, but they never do well. Because the money is still backing, I want this. I want that. And that's what's happening. The cycle's coming back of, are we going to keep going into that? Are we going to keep saying, okay, this is just how it is. Oh, they got into office, so, and then the financial industry just keeps doing the same old. Break through it. Break through it. Say, I don't have to react the same way I have. I can break this cycle of my reaction. All right, so you have to look past all of these things that say individual, separate, and say that's not how it is. But we've allowed ourselves to create that reality. So Uranus coming back around, and so we could have some big challenges. How you react will change what that represents and means now. Does this make sense? So again, we always say, oh, every time this happens, this happens. No, it comes around and we can break the cycle. That's what it's saying. When do you break this opportunity in the program? It's just a program. It's program running. That's what this is. Energy shifts and presents different situations. That's it. Right? Your frequency goes up. Your reality changes. It's not the same. You can quantum jump all you want, all day long. Every single choice you make counts. You guys have seen my 3 seconds to manifest anything. That's how I started this channel. I'll never forget when click, 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 people are coming and go, what is that? You liked it. Why? It was simple. And that's all you have to do is take this thought and shift into this. That's it. I don't have to think this anymore, because when I think this, that reality continues to come back. If I shift over here and I choose a different reality, focus on the thing you truly love, it comes into your reality and you consistently do it. You create it. The wave turns into a particle. You do this in your personal life. You can do it for the collective, because you and I, every choice we make affects the collective. So these cycles do not represent negativity. They represent the opportunity to now make it a completely different response. It does not dictate negative responses. It presents opportunities for challenges to now turn into something massively amazing and triumphant. And you can do that with me. So no matter what other people choose, you still get to make the higher choice. So don't think, if not enough people go into it, I'm going to be screwed. No, that's not going to be the case, because you will still be in the opportunities with the collective to make higher choices, higher choices, higher choices. So if it does challenge you, you still make the higher choices and your reality shifts and amazing things will come to you. Amazing things will come to you, even if the collective makes a different choice. Right? So don't think this ever has to be you going to hell in a handbasket. It doesn't. So you ready to go into this? It's it's pretty amazing. I think it's just very uncomfortable. Do I love it? No, I don't. But I realize there's something glorious in being a change maker. If you guys, this is Digital Explorers. This is a free webinar. And I'm teaching people how to create planet conscious businesses, but I'm helping you to create it. People come in and they're like, I don't know what online business to launch. So they pick something that they think is going to make money, and then you lose money and go, these are all schemes. I'm like, no, you get to use this or not. How are you using it? Just to make money? What if you make an impact in your life and the planet? How you earn? I teach you step by step. We find out what you love. We start with what you love, because that is a high frequency. So even in your job, if you're not loving it, if you're in a low frequency, it's hurting your health, you're stressed out, it has to change. You have to make a change. Or you can stay there and come back again. Because you know what? When you flunk class, they don't put you up, to the next level. They make you take the class over. Don't do that. Oh, you can, but I don't think you do. So let's master this together. Those of you who are in Breakthrough Fear, I'm turning Breakthrough Fear. I don't know, by the time you see this video, it's probably not going to be done yet. I'm going to turn it into a monthly membership course. You're going to go through the lessons. Before, people, they bought the entire tuition. Those of you who felt that, it's pretty extensive and it's for life. You get to take it, and it has changed lives dramatically. I'm going to break it down so those of you who want to make those monthly tuition payments that are very affordable can take that very extensive class And the first lesson you take could be life-changing for you. So if you're in my list here, you'll hear about that. I want to help everybody as best I can. The business, I'm sorry, but you come over and you've got to be committed to this. Business people, buckle down and do it right. And I want to make sure you're successful. So I do get to say who comes into that course. Yeah. I actually handpick the people because I know that they're serious about it and that they're going to just absolutely flourish, and they are. All right. Don't get discouraged by what's happening out there. It's going to take you on a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but I want you to see it differently if you want to stay in the high frequency and not go into the fear and sleep well at night, because you can, no matter what happens. All right? You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my beautiful, perfect light being. You are already enlightened and awakened. It's everything else we're creating that tells you you're not. You can stop believing that if you want. Namaste.